So for the longest time, I have been holding off on reading a book, a comic book I bought a few weeks ago. I thought maybe it'd be good, and it was Icon versus Hardware number two. I've mentioned this book several times, and I am rather disappointed in this book. And I think this book really does show and display an issue within the comic book industry presently. And that issue is books that preach at you instead of telling a good story. If you cannot tell, I am a black man. I love comic books. I've loved them since I was 13 years old. Right before I turned 13 years old is about the time I started collecting. So, this issue of Icon versus Hardware. Oh man, and really I try to keep this channel more geared toward the positive, so I won't go too crazy and I won't get too bent out of shape. I'll try to keep it cordial and respectful. The art was good. I enjoyed it. I like the art. Different art styles are for different people, and sometimes there's different books where I appreciate different art styles. And the art style in this book, I really like. That part of the book I enjoyed. The dialogue in this book was, in my humble opinion, very subpar, to the point where I'm not exactly sure how they got to the point they're at in Icon versus Hardware number two, but I don't think I really care to read the first one. Now, you may enjoy the book, but I'm going to say, if you found my YouTube channel as a result of my coverage of the Rippaverse and you enjoy the Rippaverse, you're probably not going to enjoy Icon versus Hardware. I think they tried to pack everything in here in this book to preach at you that they could. Curtis Metcalf, who is Hardware, was accused of killing someone he didn't really kill. He was in prison, and a future version of him as Hardware came to protect him, got the videotape to his lawyer where he didn't really kill this guy. So black man falsely imprisoned, and they're not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not incognito about pushing that idea. I mean, it is overt, in your face, out and open. Now, do I mind comic books dealing with social issues? I don't really. I think comic books dealing with social issues has been a thing. I don't think that's anything new. But the way this book went about dealing with this issue, it wasn't organic. It was forced. They dealt with police brutality. They dealt with slavery. Now, again, is there any problem with dealing with these issues? Absolutely not. The problem is in the perception of the issues and how it's delivered. It's not delivered in a way to just, tell a story in passing. It's delivered in such a way that has become the story. This has become the makeup of Icon and Hardware, the fact that they are black. Look, I have no problem with black characters. Again, I'm a black man, if you could not tell. But that's not really what I care about when I read a comic book. What I care about is, how have you developed this character? What is this character about? What is the storyline behind this character? Where did this character come from? And what is going to draw me in to loving this character? Is there going to be some kind of crazy story arc that pulls me in and involves a whole bunch of depth that makes me want to know more? And I can tell you, had I not read Icon in the 90s, had I seen reviews or maybe thumbed through this book while at the comic book store just kind of skimming through, I probably wouldn't have bought this book. And unfortunately, this is the same impression and the same feeling I got as I was reading the reissue of Hardware. I just got the feeling that they focused too much on the racial element. And here's the problem with focusing too much on that element. You really detract from the hero itself. The story becomes about the racial element and not about the hero. If you had a hero and threw in some things, that related to the current society and things that were going on, and it was organic, I wouldn't really have a problem with it. Especially if you made sure that the story was actually about the hero and not about this other side thing. I think this is why so many older heroes that dealt with social issues really worked, because the social issues were infused into the book organically, but the true focus was the hero and whatever backstory with the underpinning of that social issue kind of residing in the background, not really thrown and shoved in your face. And again, I wish I could say the dialogue in this book was good. At this rate, I think the Rippaverse really has a potential to make a big splash in the comic book industry, because there are fans like me of comic books who are underserved. I just want a good story. I don't want to focus on, or I don't want the focus to be on all of this other stuff. So I'm not going to say anything else about Icon versus Hardware. If I were you, I would save your money. It's just not a compelling story at all. And I really hate to start this out with the negative, because I'm trying to keep this positive. I did enjoy the art, I'll say that. Here's something I want to go to. You remember what I was talking about as far as Eric July with his fan art campaign, finding some good artists. There is an artist that drew Isom in an action pose that was really, really good and got me excited. And I really hope, as it stands right now, I don't know how many more submissions there's going to be, but at this point, I hope this is the person who wins the fan art competition. So let's go to this and see what's going on. So first of all, let's look at the campaign. And I didn't mean to go to ethics. Let's look at the campaign and see exactly where the ISUM number 2 campaign is at, monetarily speaking. So if you are looking at the screen, he is at $1.758 million. I do believe $2 million will be reached before the end of the campaign. Now, whether he gets to that 3.7 million that he reached in that initial campaign, I'm not sure that that's going to happen. But here's what I really want to go to. Let's go to this fan art, because, man, I really like seeing this stuff. So I'm going to take you down. Let me go to this image. I wonder if I can click on it. And so this one right here, the artist is George K. Jaramillo. And like I said, it's an action pose with Isom. If he did the colors as well and all of this, he is a really good artist. Some artists, when they draw action poses, you don't really get the sense like you're pulled into the action. There's very few artists who can do that. I think Todd McFarlane is one who can do that very well. If you look at Spawn and you look at some of the panels that he has drawn with Spawn, you really get the sense that you're like pulled into the action. Like this is something big actually happening, and it's almost like you see it in real time being animated. This artist right here, wherever you are from, whoever you are, George K. Jaramillo, you are an exceptional artist. And I really do hope Eric July uses some of your material. I hope you get contract work with him, because this right here is exceptional. In my humble opinion, this is exceptional. The level of detail, the action, the depth of the drawing, the colors, man, it is just, this is a talent. This is a very rare talent. You don't see talent like this too often. And a lot of these pictures are good. There's another one that I believe, again, out of all the artists I've seen so far, these two, George K. Jarmello and Robert Stoica, I believe that's how you say his name, is another one that just good action sequence. This action sequence is not as dynamic as the first one. That first one, it just seems like there's so much going on, and you can almost feel the changes going on as you're, looking at the picture. That's what I love. I love art like that comes alive as you look at the picture. I really love that. Look, man, this may be a gold mine, finding all of these different artists. And there's a couple pictures in here that are really good. But those two so far, I believe, are the best fan art pictures. Where does this go from here? I don't know. But as I said before, I believe this goes somewhere very, very good. I think the comic book world might be set on its head or on its side, or however that saying goes, as some of these artists maybe possibly pick up some work with the Rippaverse. Again, he's building an army. I like it. And you know what? I'm going to tell you what I think is good. I think this is going to maybe spur up some friendly competition between the different big comic book content houses. Maybe these comic book companies will realize they have been resting on their laurels, and they really need to step their game up, because there's a new player in town that's coming for all the chips. And if they leave all those chips on the table, I believe the Rippaverse will indeed take them.